An imperfect being cannot create perfection, and as such, the imperfection of the imperfect being creates the imperfection in the garden. The humans, already being imperfect themselves, obviously do what they do best and fuck things up. The garden basically collapses in on itself because a flaw and another flaw assimilating together creates an even bigger flaw, which causes cracks in it and causes the whole thing to collapse. So that idea had to be scrapped.
Yeah.
Hence why the humans were kicked out, because Original God at this point didn't want to have to start over at this point because it couldn't. It had already been irreversibly changed by its own actions. To start over would be to destroy itself, which it is not capable of doing, hence why Satan still exists. Where was I going with this? Okay, so yeah. Garden of Eden is scrapped. From there you just have a whole bunch of human history where both are trying to influence the humans. Original God trying to make them as perfect as possible so as to lessen the power of its other half, or of its other piece, and obviously the other piece striving for its own survival, trying to influence essentially the linchpin in the whole system in the opposite direction to at least equal itself out in balance. The two entities essentially equal themselves out in balance as a result anyway. This continues on until the point that they finally decide to try and work together for a little while, thus creating Jesus. All the perfection of one side with the flaw of the other side, resulting in a human that is also representative of the universe as a whole, or God. This works for a while. The humans sort of go along with it and all that, except for the fact that they end up killing him because, again, humans are horribly flawed creatures. And a union of something that is simultaneously trying to be perfect and flawed cannot last. Then you have the 95. Then you fast forward a little while, a whole bunch of other minor schisms, which is just the further the fragmenting of the original God as humanity develops, and as such, more and more flaws in its own being is created. So it must continuously split off itself into smaller and smaller pieces. And actually, now that I think about it, this is essentially creating a multiverse theory of religions, where all of them are technically correct for the exact same reason, in that they were all technically, originally, the same thing.
They all have paths to heaven, but if you find the right one, you spend less time atoning for your mistakes of being in the wrong one.
Not so much that, so much as all of them are correct paths. They're just all different paths that lead to the same place.
Now, Michael, I've already got the atheist view written out too. So, in my brain, something clicked. You might have heard me gasp. But yeah. Every single time that the two work together, this could be on any scale of the timeline of that huge-ass thing that I said earlier, where it just went forward, then split. It's a double helix. They keep colluding at small times.
Yeah, they keep trying to collude and try and make things work out, because essentially the original God and the flawed God, which are essentially two halves of the same whole, two sides of the same coin, other metaphors. Yeah. They keep trying to fix what it was that their original being that they both are a part of. They're basically just trying to fix their fuck up, but every time they try, it makes things worse.
Now, could it be? This is the view of if it's for our benefit, but based off every time they click, something bad or something good ends up happening. It could be that this is all some weird fucking MTV drama show for them, and they just are doing this for their entertainment. This would be the atheist view in this religion. This is what the atheists would view of this. Also, we are creating a manifesto, like I said earlier, is the only other option for what to do during the lock-in.
We may be blissfully aware of our own existence in the universe as a whole, but we each contain a small, small portion of that total consciousness. And if enough of us come together, we can achieve a greater understanding.
Now, I did tell my dad in the past I wanted to start a cult, and I think I'm getting closer and closer with every moment.
Honestly, if you keep writing this shit down with enough accuracy, this could be a decent cult. We'd have to flush it out a little more, but honestly, a lot of this explanation, at least as I'm saying it right now, pretty well lines up.
I have been live streaming this too, so if I missed anything, I can go through it as whenever you get off and get it down too. Which is funny because as soon as I started the live stream, we fucking hit a point, and then as soon as it started, it went, no, broadcasting isn't working right now. Oh god, why is my house so cold now?
Oh, you know why.
I am freezing. Oh, I am German now.
As you become more and more aware of the existence of the universe as a whole, you also become more aware of yourself. If you are a small portion of the universe, you also represent the universe. And as you become more aware of the universe, you become more aware of yourself. As we get closer and closer to the truth of God's existence, we become closer and closer to the truth of our own existence. Or vice versa. Actually, it doesn't matter because they're both essentially the same thing, just different scales. Anyway, where have we gotten up to at this point?
Hang on.
We've essentially gotten to, well, we've basically explained away all the different variations in Catholicism at this point. Catholicism was essentially the time in history where the God that is desperately trying to stay perfect, and the God that manifests all of the flaws.
This could be one hell of a game.
This would be an interesting game concept, but I don't know what you would do with it. Regardless,
it'd be like
you have the flawed and the flawless constantly trying to work together to eventually assimilate back into the same being. Well, actually, they're essentially both flawed at this point.
Oh god, are we gonna start Nording people?
No.
No. We shouldn't have watched that video, man. This is where it all stems from.
No, that's fine. But anyway, every time the two come together to try and create some sort of middle ground, it ends up fracturing in one way or another. Usually more than one. Great Schism, that was a point where they tried to work together, but working together in the grand scale of things usually means that a whole bunch of the tinier details get lost, which is why there were two popes. A difference in communication and influence on the larger scale ended up trickling down to the point that it was a slight difference that caused a major split. Same thing with pretty much every other schism. Same exact thing, actually. Protestant schism, same thing. But then the Protestant schism actually made the two beings realize that they can't work together at this point. And every time they try and do it, makes things worse. So then, they create Islam as it is, as sort of an addendum in order to try and re-explain their own existence to themselves. And in doing so, they split that one off as well, but purposely, so that they can both exist at the same time in equal measure. Basically, if you were to play this in like a time skip, it would be one being that eventually creates a tiny speck of another being that eventually grows to equal the exact same size as the first. Equal in size, equal in power, equal in influence. Both coexisting at the same time, unable to destroy the other, unable to form the one being as before. Both are equally valid, because both are the same. Just as humans are good and evil in equal measure, the universe reflects that, as we are reflections of that universe.
I feel like if I sent Brendan pictures of this notebook, he would just be like, y'all need help, or sleep, or both.
Oh, I don't actually feel tired right now.
Neither am I. I'm on adrenaline right now.
Yeah, I was going to say. To be fair, that might be adrenaline. And now that I think about it, Every time I get like shivers from conversations like that, that's definitely adrenaline.
If we continue by the path of all of the jumping around and all these major events that makes God choose a different people or continue with a different line, every single one, every single dispersion of everything always seems to stem from arrogance on the human's part. Like, Moses being stuck directly outside of his goal because he took it upon himself to be the one to cause the water to flow by smacking the shit out of that rock instead of hitting it once because he wanted the glory.
Well, that wasn't glory so much as lack of faith.
Oh yeah.
But of course, you know, if humans are representative of the larger the larger beings that themselves encompass the universe, then that means all of our flaws are their flaws, and self-doubt is one of them.
Yeah.
Doubting one's God is the same thing as doubting oneself, and the punishment for that is as such. When you doubt yourself, you usually are hard on yourself for at least a little while afterward for having doubted yourself. The exact same thing is happening on a much larger scale. We consider ourselves to be separate from God, when in actuality, we are small portions of God, looking down upon ourselves, judging ourselves, while at the same time desperately trying not to be judged.
If we're looking straight at the hate of any arrogant act, because of how many arrogant things happen, you can look at it not just from the chain of what is the right religion. You can take a step back and look at more proof that God hates arrogance. Like, humans have been trying further and further and further to reach God. Tower of Babel, destroyed. We've been trying to reach God's status by literally splitting or creating the small things that make humans, like atoms. Everyone who has broken through that, because of one of the 7 deadly sins, has used it to hurt other people, and the people who make these great breakthroughs are instantly just plagued with so many negative effects on themselves. Well, it's like it's
essentially a microcosm of the macrocosm that originally caused the split.
Exactly. That's what I was going for, but I didn't know the words.
Yes, it's a continuing not a butterfly effect. It's a continuing repetition of the exact same thing happening on smaller and smaller scales.
It's just a split.
What is it? The being split. Our being splits from just male to male and female. Then we have good and evil split apart in us, because before the knowledge of the tree of the fruit of knowledge of whatever the fuck the fruit was called, before the fruit was eaten, there was no concept of either because they were one thing. As soon as the fruit was eaten, that was another split between something that was quote-unquote perfect and something that was quote-unquote flawed, when in actuality, again, they're two halves of the same whole. We go even further than that, a split of groups of people, you know, based on various different things, constant little splits here and there, where one side paints the other as negative of them, when in actuality, they are two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. We go even further smaller into the splitting of atoms themselves. Things that make up things that themselves make up larger things. And we split them. Every time a split happens, something is changed. Either in a large scale or a small scale, but something does change. Irreversibly.
Dude, how fucked would it be if one of us is dreaming this whole conversation right now?
Well, I'm currently pacing, so
I'm rocking a lot.
I mean, if you want to be real technical about it, if we are smaller portions of some larger whole, we are dreaming right now. We are dreaming right now, but we are dreaming ourselves. We need to tackle this stuff. What is it? We need to tackle this stuff when we actually do get some sleep, because there's definitely a lot of shit that we can work with here, but I think we need to have a little bit of a clearer mind and a fresh mindset to tackle this again. and see whether or not we still agree with what we have said.
Yeah. There's
Assuming,
a lot
of course,
here.
you've written this down enough for us to be able, for you to be able to understand it and explain it back to
yeah, I've written a lot of this down.
Okay. I have realized that I have not taken any pauses in my ramblings in order to allow you to write it down.
But it is all on my YouTube channel currently, which even if the video gets deleted, I do have it saved.
That's a fair point.
Both on the PlayStation and on my channel history.
In all honesty, it would probably be ideal for this not to be posted immediately.
Oh yeah,
If that is at all possible. I don't know
mean,
how it
it's
works.
being live streamed, so if I go to my computer, I can download it and then delete it off my channel. But
Yeah,
I do just need to write all. I can just go through this video and write anything down that I've missed, which probably will happen because I have nothing to do, and I'm probably not going to sleep for a few hours.
Yeah, you're not going to sleep. I need to sleep because if I don't...
Sorry, Dad, I didn't wake up in time. Me and Jackson were up all night questioning the reality of God.
Well... Yeah. Apologies. Me and Jackson were up all night, discussing the nature of existence itself and parsing out whether or not we... whether or not we are God.
It all started because we had some questions about what the correct path of religion was, and next thing you know...
No, it started before that.
Yeah.
It was minor things about Catholicism that just kept growing larger and larger and larger until we eventually came to the existence of the universe as a whole. Or rather, as two wholes. Equally, W-H-O-L-E-S.
I know, sorry. It just made me giggle.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said that, I realized my mistake. I love these conversations that we have at like 3 in the morning.
And if we had these 500 years ago, we would be dead by now because someone would have killed us.
If we had these 500 years ago, yeah, someone would have already killed us or no one would have ever known about this. One of the two.
How many of these conversations do you think happened back then?
How many of these conversations do you think are currently happening? This is probably not just happening on a scale between me and you. This is on a scale between... This is on a scale probably between the two beings. We are just a microcosm of that macrocosm.
What if this was planned to happen?
I don't think planning has ever been a part of any of the steps in all of our history. If humans are supposed to be representative of God, made in the same image with all the same flaws and perfections, then planning has never been part of the main strategy. It's been improvisation from almost the get-go.
But if this was planned, I don't think it was planned to go down exactly as it has.
Well,
Considering
no.
how much every time we say something, instantly we are forced off topic. I feel like it was planned that a conversation somewhat like this would happen, but it wouldn't become this.
Yes, true. Our eyes have yet to open. At least not fully. But we might have just cracked them slightly.
Oh, my brain feels like my butt at Taco Bell.
That could mean one of two things. We have
Love
arrived at the
Donnie.
some modicum of it, or we are even further from it than when we began. Both are equally possible, and in all honesty, both could be equally true.
And I'm fine with either.
Such is the duality of the universe.
As long as we end up somewhere. Oh, God.
No, I think somewhere is relative. We're already there. We never left.
Alright, well, let's hope neither of us die in our sleep tonight, so we can continue this talk.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
That would be tragic.
Yeah, definitely write down as much as you can and figure out how to actually explain this shit in a decent manner. And I think at this point, this should conclude the stream.
Oh, yeah. Next weekend's gonna be a great weekend. Next time you can be on for 8 hours. Tom's gonna join, alright, what are we playing today? In just the middle of... Now, if God... Britain's like, hey, what's up, guys? How are you doing? I love Jesus. But if Mohammed was the real God... Oh, hey, Brandon. Dude, Brendan would literally have a stroke if he saw this.
Yeah, trying to explain any of this to Brendan would probably either A, make him have a stroke, or B, just make him shut down. Or, well, actually, no. I guess having a stroke would make him shut down.
I want to turn a bunch of pillows into a pallet of pillows that I can sleep on, because
Are we still recording?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to stop this
point,
once you get off.
Well, I'm not going to get off until I finish playing this,
Oh,
this
my
chapter.
army.
I'm just thinking at this point the conversation is mostly over, and at this point...
Oh, yeah.
Recording is of no value. Plus, you want to start that download as soon as possible just to ensure that this is not lost.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's not like the information is gone, and we can probably draw these same conclusions over and over again, and in fact we might have already done so before.
Hang on.
Though to be fair, I would definitely like to explore
Dude,
this.
some animal outside of my house is going fucking crazy right now. It sounds like it's screaming, "Scry!"
So it's telling you to write things down?
I don't know. You know, like the NL sound that he
Sorry,
makes?
never mind. To scry is to see.
No. I don't like where this is going. It makes it worse that there's a T-posing minion staring at me.
I don't think that has anything to do with any of the rest of this, but okay.
It's very intimidating.
Just turn around.
I can't touch him. He's part of God now.
Well, yeah,
He's a T-posing minion.
And I wouldn't say part so much as it is God.
Oh no, we
Just
didn't
as
even get
you
into
are.
the fact that going based off the everything is breaking down into smaller and smaller pieces, the whole Catholic view of the fact that every human is a part of Jesus.
Yeah, I mean that pretty well lines up. They've already figured out some of this.
Someone gets in contact with Miss Pickert, sends her my notes, be like, "What the fuck is gone on?"
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say at this point we should just stop.
Alright. Yeah, let's just... Okay, we're gonna end the conversation. And stop.